You know that one piece of advice we give everyone, the one we think is always, always helpful? Well, we're about to put it under a microscope because it turns out there's a hidden danger we need to talk about.
Right? We've all said it. Just get it off your chest. Let it all out. When a friend is going through something tough, this is our go-to line. And honestly, it comes from a really good place. The whole idea of talking through our problems is a cornerstone of mental health.
And look, let's be super clear here. Talking about your feelings is important. Sharing what you're going through, getting that support, it's absolutely a healthy thing to do. So the advice isn't exactly wrong, it's just incomplete.
Because, and this is a really big because, what if the way we talk about our pain can sometimes trap us in it instead of actually setting us free? What if certain conversations, even with the best intentions, are actually making things worse?
Okay, so this is where the research gets fascinating. It turns out it's not about if you talk, it's all about how you talk, and scientists have actually identified a very specific kind of conversation, a pattern that can be surprisingly damaging.
The term they use is co-rumination, and the idea is pretty simple when you break it down. It's that thing that happens when you and a friend get stuck in a loop. You just keep rehashing the same problem, feeling the same frustration, the same sadness over and over, but you never actually get anywhere.
So how can you tell if you're doing it? Well, the signs are pretty obvious once you know what to look for. You're replaying the same story, hitting all the same painful details. That initial wave of anger or sadness, it comes rushing back, just as strong as before. And here's the real kicker. When the conversation is over, you don't feel any better. You feel just as stuck and maybe even more tired than when you started.
And you know that feeling of being totally drained? That's not just in your head. There is something real, something biological happening here. Co-rumination doesn't just feel bad, it's literally rewiring your brain to hold on to pain.
Here's how it works, step by step. First, you tell that painful story again with all the emotion cranked up to 10. In response, your brain basically can't tell the difference between the memory and the real thing happening all over again, so it pumps out stress hormones. What this does is it makes the neural pathway, the actual physical connection in your brain for that memory, stronger. So you're not healing from the pain, you're actually rehearsing it. You're getting better at feeling it.
Think about it this way. Instead of letting a wound scab over and heal, you're picking at it, keeping it fresh and raw and right there on the surface. You are literally training your nervous system to stay in that state of hurt.
Okay, so if that's the harmful way, what's the helpful way? This is probably the most important part of this whole thing. It's understanding the massive difference between truly processing your feelings and just ruminating on them.
It all boils down to one simple idea: moving versus circling. Healthy processing is all about moving. You tell the story, yeah, but you're looking for something new, a different angle, a tiny realization, a shift in how you see it. The conversation actually moves you forward. Rumination, on the other hand, is just circling. You tell the exact same story, hit the exact same emotional beats, and you'll land right back where you started.
So the real question becomes, is the story evolving or is it just stuck on repeat? Arriving somewhere new, even if it's just a small step, is the whole point. That's what a healthy, healing conversation does.
So how do you take this out of the theoretical and actually use it in your life? How can you tell right there in the moment if you're helping yourself or just spinning your wheels? Well, luckily, there's a very, very simple test you can use.
This is your emotional litmus test. It's so easy. The next time you finish having one of these deep talks, just take a second, pause, and ask yourself this one question. Do I feel lighter or do I feel more drained?
And trust me, the answer is almost always immediate. A conversation that was about real processing, that will leave you feeling lighter. You might still be sad, but there's a sense of release, maybe a little bit of clarity. But a co-rumination session, that just leaves you feeling heavy, drained, stuck, and maybe even more frustrated than when you started.
Your body knows the difference. You just have to learn to listen to it. That feeling of lightness is progress. That heavy, draining feeling, that's the feeling of being stuck in a loop.
So the next time you have that urge to talk it out or let it all out, just keep this one question in the back of your mind. Is this conversation actually moving me forward, or is it just circling the same drain? Because knowing the answer to that, well, that could change everything.